What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we're once again talking about all the latest Destiny news and all the announcements Bungie have made at the beginning of 2017 and some of the things to expect, and I'll also be going over some of the other things related to Destiny that have come out recently and everything worth knowing about. So beginning with the Bungie blog post and what they've said so far in the first of 2017, they said, "We know the new year brings new questions. What's the next stop for our journey? When do we learn about the future?" Which is basically questions that we'd ask. And they said, "For starters, you haven't heard the last of the live team at Bungie. They're hard at work on another content update that will give you new reasons to fight. Before the renewed orders from the Vanguard arrive, there'll be a new batch of fixes for some issues you've been talking about. In the meantime, there are some skirmishes to fight, mostly against each other." So in terms of the roadmap, we've got Iron Banner next week, which I'll talk about in a second, and there's also going to be a big sandbox balancing patch, which they mentioned, and that's what we've been hoping for quite a while. That's me buffing and nerfing things. And there's also going to be this other content update from the live team, which the Vanguard will have new stuff for us to do. So that could be some kind of like new event similar to the Dawning. Hopefully it's remaking raids or something interesting for us to do. Either way, it's going to be PvE related, and of course it's going to be Vanguard related, so not just a Crucible event. Hopefully there's new bounties, new loot rewards, maybe some new activities, similar to how they brought in strike scoring, but it sounds pretty cool, and we'll definitely wait to hear more about that. So next Tuesday on the 17th, Iron Banner is going to kick off like we all expected, and this time it's going to be Clash as well. But strangely enough, the weapons are the sidearm and the rocket launcher, so I guess they've skipped out on the hand cannon strangely enough, but there you go, those are the two weapons, and the armor is the chest piece and the gauntlet, so that's what to expect. So pretty standard stuff, Clash Iron Banner. And then also on that Tuesday, so next Tuesday, there's going to be a hotfix update called 2.5.0.1, and that's going to fix the Plaguelands patrol missions being bugged. Also, Xur's inventory being broken, like I previously talked about, and it also fixed the bugged stability on the new Thunderlord, so they're not going to kick as much, and they have the same recoil as the actual Arc Thunderlord. So at the end of the blog post, they said, "This is how we're going to kick off 2017. A year is a long time, we're just getting started. We love you for your tireless appetite to blow stuff up. Hold on to that. As soon as we're ready to make new promises, those details will flow downstream. Until that moment arrives, the heartbeat of the live game still beats on." So the second part definitely sounds like a reference to Destiny 2, basically saying until then we've still got live updates planned, and the live team is going to be doing those kind of events. Then after that we'll get more details about what's next in 2017. So the beginning part definitely seems like a reference to kind of the near future, and the second part about 2017, it definitely seems like Destiny 2. So after these live events that the live team is working on, definitely expect to hear some stuff about the future and the sequel hopefully later in the year. So next up, let's talk about something else that happened earlier this week, which is to do with that hidden rocket launcher exotic, which we've seen for a long time now. We still don't know its actual name. A lot of people call it Dubious Volley because of its perk names, but recently a Bungie designer who made a 3D model for the gun actually posted it to the internet, and for the first time you can actually see what the gun properly looks like from two different angles, which is really cool. And even from the new angles, it still looks just so weird. It's like a microphone rocket launcher with the holes in the front. It's just a strange looking weapon, and very similar to like a javelin, like an anti-tank launcher. It's not long like most rocket launchers. It's just a really strange weapon. Obviously it's got no color, it's just the model, but this image went up on the designer's ArtStation page, which is basically a commonly used website for artists to show off their work. A lot of Bungie employees you've seen before have them to showcase their designs, but a few hours later the designer actually took them down and deleted these images, so clearly they weren't supposed to be on the internet, which is definitely more interesting. And in my eyes, it's either a deliberate tease of like, hey, this weapon still exists, expect to see it soon in the game, or it could be an honest mistake where the designer didn't know it's not in the game yet and maybe threw it up by accident. It's definitely understandable because this artist probably made the weapon like a year and a half ago for the Taken King, so he probably didn't know it still wasn't public, and it might be an accident or it could be a tease. But either way, it's really cool to actually finally see the weapon, and there's no doubt in my mind we'll definitely see this in Destiny over the next coming months, and possibly in that live event. And as I've always said, the amount of time and effort that went into designing this gun, there's no way Bungie would just delete it and have it never be used, especially when we're always looking for more content and new stuff to play, and also because the perks were specifically added into Rise of Iron, just like the Thunderlords, which we eventually got in the Dawning event. So it's only a matter of time in my eyes when we get it, but hopefully we'll get it sometime soon. So next up, let's talk about the supposed Destiny 2 leaks that were posted on Reddit. So for context, this post has absolutely no credibility. There's not like a Kotaku post. This is basically very unreliable. It was made by someone who created a throwaway account on Reddit, so someone who literally made an account and this is their one and only post, and they even called themselves Insider Leaker, so they've got no credibility basically, and basically I or any of you guys could do the exact same thing, so definitely take it with a giant slab of salt. It's not from Kotaku, and they've basically got no track record of being reliable. So with that said, what they did say is actually pretty interesting, and definitely got a lot of people talking and thinking, and of course loads of people wondering if it is legit or not. But I'll summarize what the post said quickly about Destiny 2, and the person said they're in close contact with a Bungie employee. So they said, we keep our characters and memories and accomplishments, but lose our gear and items. You get 3 new subclasses at launch in addition to our 3 existing ones, so 12 in total, which is definitely a lot. The game may be delayed until the first quarter of 2018. Powers of Darkness will be introduced into gameplay. Raids will be bigger and longer, more interesting. Ships are not only cosmetic, there's transmogrification, it's on PC, there's a UI overhaul and more customization. Eververse isn't as prominent. Zert and the Speaker will be big parts in the story, and there's non-Guardian races being introduced. So to me, definitely sounds like someone's wish list, like a fan of the game sitting down and basically thinking up cool things they would love to see in the game. A couple of points definitely stick out as unlikely, like adding 3 subclasses on top of the 9, making 12 is kind of ridiculous, and there'll be a lot of balancing issues with 12 subclasses. Also, the raids being longer is definitely not going to happen. We even had the raid designer for Rise of Iron even mentioned in an interview how Kingsfall was way too long and drawn out, and their design goals is to make raids like Wrath of the Machine, which is definitely a lot more shorter and to the point. Also, Eververse not being prominent is very hard to believe. I can't imagine Activision reducing that when there's so much money to be made. It's a massive opportunity, so I really would not believe that. So those are my thoughts on that leak for those of you guys asking if I think it's legit. If there's going to be leaks from a Bungie employee, it's probably going to be through Kotaku like they've been so far. So there you go. That's what I think of those supposed Destiny 2 Reddit leaks. So the next thing I want to talk about is to do with Crimson Days, and what a Bungie employee actually said to an Express article in an interview. They said there are no guarantees beyond the conclusion of the Dawning in January. So it's very open-ended and of course quite ambiguous, but it basically means there's no guarantee for it to happen again. Doesn't say it will or won't happen, but it definitely coincides with what Bungie just said about their new event, and it makes sense because it's probably going to clash around the similar time of Valentine's Day around February. So this one is probably going to be somewhere in between Festival of the Lost and also the Dawning. So if they're doing this, it makes sense why they probably aren't going to be doing Crimson Doubles unless this event is some kind of rework of it and it's going to be bigger and better with Vanguard opportunities. But either way, I'm happy with this. It's definitely an ideal situation. I'm sure Bungie will tell us more about it in the coming weeks. So that is a roundup of all the latest Destiny news and updates from Bungie, and as always, a like rating on the video would be much appreciated. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss my future uploads, and I'll see you guys in the next one.